How are you? How's everyone? Let's begin with the latest world news. And well, today we saw a strange image. Pope Leo the 14th. So he was apparently looking at this electric Ferrari, a Ferrari that has generated controversy, even causing Ferrari's stock to drop. But obviously, it's a design that doesn't really look like a Ferrari. I mean, it doesn't look like the typical, more aggressive Ferrari. Instead, it looks very subtle. Let's say the lines are very clean. It looks like anything but a Ferrari. But anyway, at the end of the day, since it's an Italian brand, usually these kinds of cars have a strong connection with, let's say, Italian pride and passion. And well, usually in other times, previous popes would also visit or be brought a new car. And many times they are given as gifts. I can already imagine Pope Leo the 14th driving around Rome or the Vatican, maybe even doing some donuts out there. They're already explaining to him more or less how to drive. And I think that because of his influence, both spiritually and politically, maybe he could be cruising around at impressive speeds, right? But anyway, in the meantime, the Ferrari is white, which normally should be red, of course, because it's the Pope's, right? I imagine they gave it to him as a gift, right? What's going on?
Well, maybe, because I saw that they presented one in orange red, which is the classic color, of course, and also a blue one. And well, the one they showed the Pope, which is white, right? White with black. Was it white?
Yes. It was white. Yes.
Yes, white. It was usually white.
Yes, no. How cool. He sped up. According to the reports, well, in response to the criticism, the CEO of Ferrari has said true innovation is not democratic. Revolutionary ideas rarely come from immediate consensus. And in that sense, well, it's true. What's innovative, what's disruptive is usually heavily criticized. That's true too. That anyone involved in anything creative will understand this. It's very common, right? I was telling you the other day that the Eiffel Tower, well, was harshly criticized. They wanted it torn down when they built it over there in France. The French were extremely angry. And now, well, it's a symbol that attracts millions of tourists to Paris. The same goes for the Cybertruck, although that one is still being criticized. But who knows? Maybe in the future. I don't know.
I don't know, a very distant future, like billions of years from now.
Maybe it'll be seen as innovative. Meanwhile, here's another surprising image from Coahuila, in your homeland, where, yes, exactly, where they report, well, a tournament.
Tower. They're the
Exactly, that's where we generate the tornadoes, well, to generate energy. We have very advanced technology that's not understandable for most people, right? Look here. See how he's laughing. You can't imagine how it is down there. Underground, we have everything. The whole setup.
all airborne dust.
All of it, well, the dust is outside, right, for the mortals, right, so they can be there, Visitors, the tourists, right, the tourists who get excited about it with the little tornado tournament. Look at the little tornado. Look at the little tornado. There it is. Also, another surprising image. Today in Mexico, it was all about strange phenomena. This all. And it's just that, well, in my backyard, which is unique, they found what is it? It's like a hot spring, right?
A geyser? Yes, we'll have more details on that soon, as UNAM has just now.
Right now, what's going on?
Well, it turns out that in Michoacan, the geologists from UNAM are going to study this phenomenon. A geyser has erupted. It's a house, it's the yard. In the yard, they have pig pens. This is a town called El Cesalito. Very fitting, the name. And well, it has generated a lot of curiosity, right? How could it not? Of course.
Of course, it's impressive. Nature is surprising. But the craziest thing is that it's in the yard.
And it was super fast, says the State Civil Protection Agency, the ones who are handling this whole case, that it started during Monday night.
Yes. I mean, they woke up.
And the pigs were already cooked. I don't believe you. Oh, really?
No.
I'm kidding. But it's this
No, pigs are smart too. They escape.
And well, the truth is that Michoacan has had a lot of geothermal activity for decades. So, well, we should see how it can be used. We should always take advantage of it, right? How can we use it?
To start with, tourism, I don't know. The thing is that it's an area, like you said, known for all this activity, obviously. So now, in these matters, what applies? Well,
The family unfortunately had to be evacuated. They can't be there. It's a small farm where a 30-meter radius fence has already been put up to prevent any accidents so that people don't go in, because you know how it is. Let's remember the sinkhole, the one where they even made bread, set up a route, a bus, everything changed so people could go see the sinkhole.
hey, it turned into a whole industry around the Puebla sinkhole, didn't it? We send our regards to everyone in Puebla, to the people from Michoacan, and to everyone around the world. We send you a big greeting. If you're watching us, hey, recommend us over there too. Hey,
You know, it actually reaches pretty high levels. That's why it's really concerning, really dangerous. The bubbling can reach about 8 meters. That's water and gas. And well, the thing is,
hey, that's actually a topic they've already managed really well in Coahuila. Is that why you think there aren't any volcanoes there? No, there are. They're just underground. We use them there for thermal energy. That's another topic. Well, after you get the green cara, I'll take you for a ride.
I don't have an automatic.
This one isn't automatic, right? Also, another image that stands out today is that, well, these attacks or these drone movements from Russia to Ukraine keep happening. In this case, what's going on? Did it just fall or attack like that? Or what happened with that one?
Well, there we can see how the Ukrainians neutralized the Shahed. I mean,
They deactivated in.
they deactivated in the air. It was headed for an agricultural area. See how they target anything non-military? Anything involving civilians gets neutralized in the air.
Well, that's part of what is being shown today. And also, well, this image, what we're seeing here is over at the White House. Look at that. Nothing more, nothing less. They're in Washington. They're setting up a UFC arena. Just imagine crazy times right there next to the White House. As if things were really that safe, right? Que psera. I mean,
At what's it called, the Hilton Hotel.
and there were 500 people going there. Yeah. Here, more than 1,000 people are going to go. Yeah.
I mean,
1,000 people. Just imagine 5,000 people inside the White House. Yeah, they're going to check it. I don't know what. Yeah, that's what they said about the Hilton Hotel too. And you saw what happened. Look, the White House is preparing an arena. They're building it like there's no tomorrow. And I'm sure they'll report on it while this arena is set up for fights. A huge cage, right? An arena to watch. They say Trauma is going to be fighting there too.
No, it's starting to look like the movie New Yorker. Remember? New Yorker, yes. The president. There's a fight too. Yes, in front of the White House.
No, well, it's just that they took that as a base.
I think so.
The thing is that Trump is going to be there, obviously enjoying the fights while he walks around and can go to the office or do whatever. While the war is going on, because they estimate that the war is basically starting right now, they think that there will be a very strange situation where there will be a UFC event, fights, and at the same time he will be giving orders like, shoot here, about the conflict.
It would really be amazing.
Look, there will be 5,000 people as spectators, but they're going to put up a giant screen called Eclipse so that it's in the south area of the White House. And there in that area, just in the south area, there will be 80,000 additional people.
I mean, it's really a huge crowd of people.
I would say that, I mean, logically, based on what's happened, they would have to take Trump somewhere else, right? Maybe take him to Miami or somewhere else.
It's a bubble. It won't happen like that.
Because there are so many people there. Controlling that won't be easy. Still, these ideas suddenly seem like a joke. Honestly, this is a joke.
Well, yes. Well, just to remember, this whole show is to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the independence of the United States.
Well, there it is, right? That's the way to celebrate. And also, well, another one of the images, well, this is another image, but the one of the arena in black, the crane there putting things in place. Meanwhile, I think we have another image. It's this one. What happened there?
Well, that's an earthquake. It's the earthquake.
No.
No, that's not the earthquake. It's that they sent you. No, yes. This is a 4.8 earthquake in Pakistan, not very strong, but well, unlike in Chile, it did cause some damage, like cases with fractures, well, as they call them, cracks. Yes, there's a movement that caught attention, but they're all just small towns.
I saw that. I mean, where the camera goes in there, and they told the lady, hey, ma'am, here, this one got a crack. And yes, He told her that. He said, that's how it is. Hey, well, but the potholes here and the crack, no, it's also been like that for 10 years. Well, this one is 4.8. Luckily, we can joke about it because, look, as far as we know so far, well, this one, there hasn't been a single death, although in other areas there were supposedly reports of some injuries. And with a topic like this, we'll see if they confirm it too, or maybe something else. But what is certain is that it has been, well, quite a lot. What's it called? It's been active in recent days. Earthquakes of all kinds, from very deep earthquakes that haven't caused any problems, and other shallow earthquakes that have caused problematic situations, because this area of what's it called, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and even Turkey, right? If you go to the whole area, every little earthquake that happens, and Iraq too, which has several little earthquakes. I say little earthquakes because of their small magnitudes, but because of their type of construction, it causes a huge problem. Another one of the images that has caught attention today is this image of attacks, right? These are attacks where
These are attacks in Tuapse. Yes, in Tuapse. Do you remember there was already a fire that lasted for weeks, right? Yes, in that refinery that, well, the Russians in Tuapse, well, the Russians there had a really hard time. And, well, today this would be the 5th attack by Ukraine on this refinery that, well, caused oil to rain down, right? In Tuapse.
exactly. This is inside Russia. And also, well, another image that stands out today. Well, we are sharing with you some of those images that have been appearing on social media from Indonesia, right? About the floods. Well, more images keep coming out, right? I just want to tell you that it's really serious. This is a village in Gorontalo. They are also reporting several missing people there. It's still not clear how big the problem is, but it's been about 3 days now that they've been dealing with flooding, and they've had storms for weeks, which we've already talked about here. From Jakarta all the way a bit further east, almost reaching Papua, they've been experiencing some really severe storms. Let's move on to other news. Go ahead and share if you haven't done so yet. Thanks to the community that has liked and shared and supports us in different ways, right? Thanks for being here and commenting. It's truly appreciated. Greetings to Sofe Mendez. How are you, Sofe? What's new? How's it going? How are things over there? Tell us, please. A big greeting to Verderi. He says, in southern Lebanon, they also kill with tanks, machine guns, and missiles, says Verderi. Well, yes, we talk about it often here. Verderi, what happens in Lebanon happens everywhere. Well, it's a terrible situation, isn't it? How have you been in the north of Israel? Enemy drones chase people like a dog chases someone, says Carlos Martinez. It's not just in that area, but also in the southern part, right? They have some drones, not so much that they chase people, but that they track them visually up to a certain point, up to a certain line. And if you cross that line, they shoot. And unfortunately, there have already been cases there, even children, right? It doesn't distinguish, does it? It's not going to tell the difference, right? Whatever happens there, they shoot. It's terrible too. Well, I mean, we're already living in a situation of robotic wars, right? Yes, yes, yes. You don't see the typical robot yet, like a Terminator.
It's already here. There's trust, but yes, it's on the front line.
Exactly. I mean, there too in Gaza, in Lebanon, well, towards the areas of the West Bank, right? You already more or less know what that whole situation is like. Nina, how have you been? Tapatia Plus. Hello, greetings. How are you? Panterita, big greetings also to the whole community watching us on replay. So, let's move on to other important matters. An oil tanker reportedly suffered damage from an external explosion. I was telling you or giving you information that was developing at the time. But there's also the report from the UK MTO, which is this official publication by a Estación. A series of, well, reports that are confirmed through this organization, which is from the United Kingdom, that provides service, let's say there in the Middle East. And what it says is, the event was confirmed, it did happen, and they very likely believe it was artillery fire from the Iranian boats. Or also a situation in which a drone may have possibly been used, right? What is known right now?
Exactly. What is known is that it was, according to them, an external explosion. What does this mean? That it wasn't something from the machinery, something from the ship. It was something external that attacked it and caused this explosion. It damaged the tanker near the waterline while it was sailing off the coast of Oman. This was reported today by the Maritime Control Agency that Pepe just mentioned, the UKMTO. They say the crew and the ship are safe, although the captain reports that there has been a fuel spill.
Thank you. Yes, we had information about the spill since noon. We mentioned it, that there was a small spill according to them. But honestly, I have my doubts about that small spill so far. I mean, well, I don't know. We'd have to see how it happened. The thing is, there still haven't been any images shown of the explosion. And of course, there won't always be images. But at least as far as I know, there aren't any so far, and we've been looking for them. There haven't been any images that can be confirmed. And there also haven't been any satellite images of the spill plume, of the spill. We'll probably be seeing that by morning. But anyway, the attack happened earlier. It's not known where it came from yet.
Well, what they're saying is that since the explosion happened at the waterline, it could have been caused by an attack with an unmanned boat or a limpet mine that stuck to the hull. It's also striking where it happened because it's not... Let's look at the map because it's easier to show it here. So it happened in an...
Well, it says that it happened near Foreman. I mean, it wasn't even caused by a boat, but it happened in this area already on the Oman side. If they have mines all the way to that area, just imagine how dangerous that would be. But I mean, it's still not confirmed that it was a mine that hit the hull. They were not in the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, it's actually far from the Strait of Hormuz. So in theory, this ship had already left. So while they went back and the explosion happened, it could have been exactly the whole crew, a manned boat, or exactly the whole crew, including the captain as well. Well, today there is also an accusation in this case from Iran. The Iranian foreign minister described the US attacks on mina-laying ships. That happened. Remember yesterday when attacks were reported on launchers and boats that were supposedly laying mines. The foreign minister, Aragashi, described the attacks on these mina-laying ships, mine layers, as a flagrant violation of the ceasefire, because the ceasefire specifically stated that these kinds of attacks could not take place. Now also, if they were laying mines, that would also be a situation that is not allowed. It's not, let's say, within the agreement. It was not to lay mines, and also not to operate with weapons in that area, which obviously hasn't happened since day one, on either side. The Islamic Republic of Iran says it will not leave this unanswered. Iran is calling it maritime piracy and releases this report. Let's see if we can see it here on the screen. It releases this text. Let's see if I can put it up here. Well, it appears in two publications, one in Persian and another in English. And they provide the information about their opinion, from their point of view, about how things happened, among the things that stand out. This minister says they consider it a violation of the UN Charter. They claim that the attacks demonstrate a deep suspicion about how things are being handled or how they want to justify things on this issue. He believes Washington is responsible for all consequences of its actions. This is reported by an Iranian agency, an agency that is, let's say, within the narrative of the same regime, and that also shows their point of view. It helps in the end. Now, is there any reaction in that sense from the United States? I am right now.
No. It's like they've been trying not to overreact.
Not exactly, because there was always like an immediate reaction. Yes, right now. And now, I don't know if...
Because right now, the only thing out there is a rumor. Obviously, this only in Arab media, well, specifically from the Gulf, that the agreement is almost done, that it's just missing a signature, just 1 point left.
Exactly.
But well, they've told us that several times before. We'll see. We'll see. They're the only ones reporting that story.
But look, yes. There's one from Axios. And look, there's one from Axios that I think was, here we have it. Look, I mean, in which it was like this, 10, no, like this, 10 like this, fine. It's just in the drafts. It's the draft. Exactly. from the draft, from what they know, from what has been published, let's say, because the only thing there is right now is the draft. I mean, there's nothing official yet. So according to two regional officials, I mean, from over there in that area, have been able to read this proposal. They're making for a 60-day ceasefire. Do you remember the ceasefire? In theory, it would be for 60 days, basically to free the world from a war. Iran says it hasn't accepted all the terms, although a high-ranking United States official stated that they had agreed to a sort of arrangement. Like opening the Strait of Hormuz, yes? Like partially, let's also say it in the agreement, in the preliminary agreement, so to speak. What the Iranians might consider, I mean, is that the uranium reserves could be eliminated, let's say. Supposedly, but gradually almost. For me, it's like, well, the idea is to buy time, both for Iran and for the United States. Basically the same, to buy time, keep the Strait of Hormuz at least partially open and lower oil prices. The draft proposal indicates that Iran would immediately, but partially, reopen the Strait of Hormuz and would take measures to ensure that maritime traffic returns to previous conditions. It would be partial at first, but within the first 30 days, the Strait of Hormuz would have to be fully open. Yes, supposedly not. Also, this high-ranking official, but now not from that area, but rather from the United States, let's say from the White House, confirmed some of these points like this to CBS News. According to what they said, aside from declaring a halt to all military operations on all fronts, they said that Lebanon is included and that the 60-day extension of the ceasefire would also have to include Lebanon. And that, wow. I mean, honestly, I don't believe it. Impressionable. I think, look, there are two things here. There's a bet. And suddenly it's not clear because, well, the bet is on Israel's side. They want to wipe out Hezbollah, right? But on Iran's side, Iran keeps betting on Hezbollah continuing to, I mean, they're still attacking Israel. They're still launching rockets. And that's also something that has been noticeable since the beginning of the war. So when Iran wants to, let's say, provoke, they can easily use Hezbollah. And that way they don't get directly involved in the problem. The thing is that Lebanon is in the middle. It's between a rock and a hard place, between a radical group, let's say kind of like a government, because it basically governs the southern part. And on the other hand, Israel, which is also inside Lebanon, is taking land from Lebanon and is also attacking in a way that just doesn't stop. And they've already said they're not going to stop. So, agreement or no agreement, that issue with Lebanon, at least for them, is not going to stop.
Exactly. So, well, we'll see. Because also on the side of the group negotiating the agreement with the United States, I mean, from Iran, there's Ahmed Vahiri, and that person is very closely linked to Hezbollah. He's been there and trained with Hezbollah in different places. So he has a very strong connection.
Let's review the attacks and see how things are developing. Israel would be intensifying its operations in Gaza and in southern Lebanon, not just in Lebanon. Terrible situations are also unfolding in southern Gaza. The recent deployments of Israeli units would be aiming to hinder the operational capacity of armed organizations through targeted attacks on facilities and tunnels. They say there is basically a non-stop military presence. Now, troops are there 24/7 in all the border areas. There are also areas. Now, selected areas are under attack, targeting what they believe is the Hezbollah leader, as we mentioned yesterday, right? That would be one of the possible targets they have now. But according to the IDF, the raids aim to find certain members without confirming who. Yeah. According to what the Times of Israel reports, the troops would be entering specific areas based solely on intelligence. So basically it's not so much an attack on weapons depots like before, but rather about dismantling or trying to dismantle that group.
Exactly. Well, it's a strong move that's being made. And speaking of drone attacks, did Pepe mention it? And the Israeli military command is also considering increasing the distance from Hezbollah forces, meaning going beyond where they are currently attacking In addition, ground operations are taking place. The Israeli Air Force has intensified bombings in southern Lebanon, attacking more than 100 Hezbollah targets in a single night. And well, they mainly focused on areas identified as points of organizational activity, which is what they always mention. Like this spot has a weapons depot, this spot has a large launcher, or certain important Hezbollah figures are at this location. That's basically how things are going with the situation with Israel.
Yes, supposedly they're going after these individuals. We won't see how far this goes until things progress on that matter. But, and how far can it get out of control too? Because it looks like it could get out of control. So much so that, well, yesterday Israel was saying, get ready, to the people in the north, because it looks like this is going to last a while. By the way, this is another interesting issue. The United States has reportedly informed its European allies that it plans to reduce significantly its military contributions to NATO. In other words, the United States would be, so to speak, distancing itself from this alliance. This is reported by the German outlet Der Spiegel. Les Green, senior advisor and envoy of the Secretary of Defense, informed the allies, officially informed NATO, that his plans are basically to leave, or let's say, reduce the Pentagon's investment in the alliance. That's the issue. Well, it was to be expected, right? It was to be expected because, well, the United States with the, let's say, Trump administration, the approach has basically been to weaken NATO. On one hand, to weaken NATO. But on the other hand, also, well, NATO, it seems like it's going its own way, right? Because NATO was always at the disposal of whatever the United States said. And now, well, it's more like they also have to start thinking for themselves. In fact, there have already been meetings where only the European members of NATO and Canada have participated, but not the United States. So that's also something. Well, I imagine that Putin must be happy about that, in a way.
Right? Exactly. And in the end, as we mentioned, after Donald Trump's first term, Congress made sure that no president can withdraw from NATO. So Donald Trump can't leave NATO, but he can weaken it by pulling out troops and cutting investment, and so on. It's not exactly leaving, but we can see that he's basically leaving, right?
Exactly, to weaken it. Hormuz. By the way, CENTCOM has also been responding to a Wall Street Journal report that claimed the US Navy was resuming the escort of commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, several media outlets mentioned today that they were already escorting oil tankers. Well, CENTCOM says that they are absolutely not escorting anyone and that the Freedom Project is still active. Exactly.
It's really strange, isn't it? Maybe they don't want people to know. It could be Yukai, but, well, supposedly they're not doing it.
They're not, but they're following the Freedom Project, right? That's the issue, isn't it? Let's move on to other important matters. There's a prediction, right? Scientific analysis, you see? Like many scientific groups are trying to understand what the future will be like and what the challenges of the future are. And one challenge they estimate, which is maybe something that's becoming more and more visible, is how the population is decreasing, right? I mean, there are fewer and fewer people.
We've spent years living with the lie that there were too many of us, that the population needed to be reduced.
And that it was about this and that. And now, well, they say there aren't that many of us either.
But it's happening.
From now until 2064, what these scientists estimate is that there would be a global population collapse that would reduce it by about half. The scientific simulation warns not only about the fact that there will be fewer children, but also warns that there could be extreme scenarios that would change the fate of humanity. The pressure on the planet has reached a breaking point that few want to admit, scientists say, and they warn that the current world population, in addition to 8.3 billion, could be drastically reduced in less than 40 years, meaning we could live through that situation. That means, Vonce, pasaremos a 4,000 millones. That means we could witness a scenario where the population drops from 8,300,000,000. Yes, 8,300,000,000. 8 billion, let's say. We would go down to 4 billion. This possible collapse is not an exact prediction, but rather a mathematical simulation based on sudden changes that could occur on the planet. The study was developed by researchers from the University of Milan and published by the university. Today, I'll tell you the full name of the publication in case you want to look it up. So, the scientists analyzed 12,000 years of population growth to build the predictive model, although current growth does not indicate a collapse. They say they saw that there were certain patterns that can be generated or can, let's say, be triggered, and suddenly see how those peaks and the population, and then the peaks decrease and decrease, and between those peaks, well, a certain era is being lived, let's say a prosperous one, right? Despite the challenges, despite everything, from a population point of view, right now the population is still quite large, and there are still areas with a lot of people. I mean, there are overpopulated areas, of course there are, yes, but there are other areas that aren't. In this case, what they believe is that the change is going to happen within the next 40 or 50 years. This study was published in a journal called Chaos, Solutions, and Fractals, which is a publication that deals with the mathematical side about human population growth and how it has those patterns of ups and downs. And, well, the next one is supposedly a drastic, significant drop. This publication from the University of Milan says it's not an exact prediction, and it can vary by even hundreds of years. So it's not like it's something that's definitely going to happen or anything like that. They're just things they calculate are likely to happen.
Exactly. And in the end, many countries are already suffering from this lack of, as they say, population growth to maintain the current population. No, I mean, there are countries like Korea, where I think women have 0.7 or 0.4 children on average in terms of pregnancies or children, which, well, doesn't replace the people who had those children. It's an issue that's becoming much more complicated.
But they talk about how it goes beyond that. It goes beyond just that.
But also, we're already having problems in certain countries, while in others we're not, right? But for example, in the case of studies that have been done in France and England, when people from Arab countries or African countries, where they usually have many children, arrive there and start to integrate, the next generation no longer wants to have so many children. No, so migration isn't a guarantee either.
Yes, no. But anyway, the point here is...
It was a catastrophic case.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's what's interesting here, right? I mean, they say it could happen because of how many of us there are. I mean, it's not so much because, I mean, catastrophes can always happen, right? But it's the fact that since there are so many of us, sustainability in the face of a catastrophe is impossible. I mean, yes. I mean, there's a point where you say, well, let's give an example, right? There's a supervolcano, and the supervolcano it's in Tonga, right? And absolutely nothing happens immediately. Okay, very well. So Tonga already erupted. It caused maybe a tsunami, but the tsunami didn't reach major places. It didn't cause big problems. Maybe here and there on some island, but nothing massive, right? But you create an ash cloud that will last 3, 4, 5 years, where you won't have enough sunlight to grow food, so to speak, right? And you end up with, well, a global crisis, right? I mean, something like a disaster, maybe of that kind. Suddenly you say, well, if there were maybe fewer of us, the problem wouldn't feel as big. But since there are so many of us, it also makes hard to withstand small or big crises, right? So let's say that's the idea, at least that's what I get, right? It's interesting. And I'd like to hear your opinions too, but, well, at least it makes some sense. I would say, again, another thing is the topic of prevention. What are those things that we would hardly be able to scale up the way we have now? I mean, take water, for example. How do you make it widely available? And it is possible. I mean, now we have an impressive level of engineering. For example, they've gotten the idea, and I say this with all due respect to the community watching us from Spain, in certain islands and tourist areas, they say, no, there are just too many tourists, right? And it's not possible. There's no water. They take everything and so on and so on and so on. And at the same time, you see how countries that literally have no water, like Saudi Arabia, have plenty of water for themselves, for tourists, for whoever wants it, and pools and whatever you want, right? I mean, they're overflowing. Why? Because they've invested in it for years and years. Singapore is another example from having this. And I'm actually taking this from a report, precisely. A Spanish channel I was watching today, Geopolitics, did an analysis on that topic, and I thought it was very accurate, and the information was really good. We said, yeah, that's true. I mean, honestly, well, it's not about whether tourism is good or bad. Of course it's good.
Can't handle.
No, I mean, you've created it and you're building it to handle it. I mean, yes, eventually it can't handle it. Why? Because you're successful. Things are going well and more tourists are coming. That's great. Instead of complaining about that, invest in infrastructure. Go and demand from the politicians instead of asking them to get rid of the tourists. Don't insist on ending tourism. Instead, require it to be sustainable so this number or even twice as many tourists can visit, but in a way that's good for everyone, right? Or if we're not going to sacrifice others, let's create infrastructure so you can have that and more, right? Like other countries have done. I mean, come on, we know it's possible. It's possible. But politicians play with your emotions, with your feelings to try to say, look, no, when it's been their own inefficiency that's put them there.
They always blame the other person.
They always blame the other person.
It doesn't matter which country, always.
No, but I really mean it. It's intense. But anyway, let's move on to other interesting topics. In today's strange news, and don't forget, it doesn't end, right? I mean, supposedly they report a dog, and really, it's not the first time. No, it's not the first time.
That's the weirdest thing, that it's not the first time we've talked about this stuff.
I mean, these things happen, right? Suddenly, especially when there's a lot of carelessness with gun safety, aren't bad if they're used correctly. Let's say for someone who uses them for self-defense or something like that. The problem is that most of the time, guns aren't used safely. They're not stored safely. And sometimes you hear stories about a 2-year-old kid, right? He grabs a gun and shoots someone, you know? I mean, how many times have we talked about this? This time it wasn't a kid. It was a dog. I mean, apparently they reported that a dog was in the truck, I think.
They live in a car.
It was a car, yes. And what's going to happen to Pasa?
Well, he gets a call from a woman who was supposedly hurt and was in a car. The door of her car had a hole in it. And well, it turns out that the dog was the one who caused the shooting. This was found out later, since the explosion occurred when the vehicle stopped at a store and the dog was moving around. Typical. You can't leave them alone. They don't just fill up the back seat. He moved, and somehow the dog triggered the shotgun to fire. There was still a round in the chamber, and it damaged the vehicle and injured a woman who was passing by. The victim was taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, her injuries are not serious, but well, she is in the hospital.
I mean, she didn't die. No.
Good, that's it. That's the one.
Let's say all things considered, right?
But it's really strange. This happened in Nebraska in a city called Scott Bluff. Well, this really caught their attention, right? They got called about a shooting outside a store because of a dog. And they go, and well, no, until here they are told. It wasn't a dog.
Or maybe it was the dog hiding someone.
Or maybe it was the dog, right? But anyway, the point is that this happens often, like it's always the dog or the cat or the parrot. That's not really a parrot. I think if it was on purpose, right? Like when a parrot activates a weapon.
Yeah, it looks awful. You don't give me my little fruit.
You don't need me. But anyway, yeah, it was weird too. Hey, did you also see what happened with Xi Jinping, who got really intense, right?
Yeah, well, Xi said that he was criticizing the new prime minister of Japan very harshly. From a new perspective, well,
It's just that
the newest one. She's my new one.
it's from...
The newest ones in the group. It's an attack. What if they attack? What if? Because they're remilitarizing Japan. We have to remember that it's been several years since Japan changed its constitution so they could have, well, a real army to defend themselves. Because before this, due to World War II, it was prohibited in the constitution. Basically, it wasn't possible. But ever since then, ever since Shinzo Abe was in office, these changes were made. Shinzo Abe was right-wing, and he was more in favor of Japan having its own defense. In the end, they are no longer the Japan of 1939, and now they need to protect themselves from countries like China, North Korea, which could do anything at any moment, and Russia, and they could be attacked. Right?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of how things are geopolitically, it's a country that is, I mean, it's just far too easy to attack. I mean, in the end, it's an island, or rather a series of islands, an archipelago, whatever you want to call it. But it's very easy to attack a country like that, especially since its cities, or several of its important cities, are right on the coast. It's just logical, right? That they would need that. And he's right. I mean, we see all the time how Russia goes through there and does whatever it wants. China also does whatever it wants. I mean,
And Korea launches missiles. I mean,
exactly. Besides, I mean, if your neighbors have built up their militaries dramatically, and by the way, you don't get along with them. I mean, actually, your relationship with them is pretty bad. And even with the one you get along with better, which is South Korea, things are still bad. Because there's still a memory of the past there that was terrible. So that still hasn't healed. And well, South Korea has been arming itself for quite a while. I mean, they may not have nuclear weapons, but right now they're the second or a third country that's now a top global weapons seller. It's made major advances in weaponry. Taiwan is in there too. Taiwan is making a lot of progress in this area. Today or yesterday, they announced that drone sales for military purposes from Taiwan to the world are now skyrocketing. I mean, Taiwan is also getting heavily involved in the arms industry. And, well, Japan too, because of its past, right? And because of these laws it had, and imposed, by the way, by the United States when it was created. Let's say that constitution, well, they had been a bit detached, right? And now they're turning inward.
exactly. And what's interesting is that this is known, what we're talking about Xi. If this leaks right now, because this happened, these comments were made when Trump was with Xi Jinping. Yes, that's good. They say that suddenly Xi Jinping went off the agenda because there's usually a list of topics to discuss, right? He totally went off the agenda. He seemed agitated. He seemed upset. Just imagine that. Imagine him like that. Being upset is very difficult because honestly, it seems
Seems like he's always just a little bit.
they always have the same expression. So you struggle with him because you rarely see different emotions on his face. Well, yes, he did look agitated, upset about Japan's increased defense spending, which were the most heated moments of the summit between the United States and China. And well, the officials who were there with Trump were left surprised. He suddenly started bringing everything up, all the annoyance he had against Japan because of this, since it wasn't part of the talks, it wasn't even a topic. And well, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, said, well, it's just that Japan, she has to be in a more defensive position because they have North Korea, which is now nuclear power. And well, it wasn't clear if Trump mentioned China, but he did mention North Korea, right?
Yes, but I mean, in the end, they can say a lot of things about North Korea, but it has nuclear capabilities, and that's a big problem for Japan. Because in the end, well,
And surely he doesn't like it?
no, I don't think so. But look, he's also making moves with...
Right? South Korea announced it today. In fact, they announced that they are going to build their own nuclear-powered attack submarines, and they're already starting. They're going to build them from scratch using national shipyards and reactors.
Well, there you have it. I don't know. South Korea is also moving towards nuclear technology, but in terms of submarines, not that they're going to launch nuclear missiles, but that they're...
Nuclear powered.
Exactly, nuclear propulsion.
What else? What else do we have over there?
Very good. Today we also have the story about the journalist. Well, let's wait a moment before we start with that.
It's really good.
Let's move on to another topic. Anyway,
Well, there's an update on the incident that happened in Washington At this plant, there was an implosion in Washington State. Yes.
Version.
Actually, over there showing the photo. How did it look?
No, I sent it. No, I'll find them now.
Yo.
Well, today there's already an update on how things are going with the injured and one person who lost their life, which Pepe had already mentioned, and there are 9 workers missing because of the implosion. That's really strange. Yes, it is.
Well, I mean, it's very likely that they lost their lives because if someone disappears, I don't know. I don't see how they could just disappear. It's a small industry. It's not like they were out at sea or something like that, right? I mean, yes, it happens. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Just so you can see what it looked like after the implosion there in the state of Washington. For those who missed the news, well, there was, let's say, a problem in an industrial area again, which also seems pretty strange to me. First, it happened in California. Actually, it was already the 3rd or 4th one in California in recent weeks. This time, well, the one in California was more serious than others we've seen, but there have been problems in refineries. There have been problems, well, in refineries not only in the United States, but also in Mexico, Australia, Germany, and Europe. Well, let's say that's how it's been causing incidents, so to speak, quite frequently. And in the case of this company, it's a paper plant that uses a toxic substance, a material that it has a kind of tank. That tank, well, it imploded. It didn't cause, let's say, this problem, but it did create a sort of, I mean, the implosion itself, it creates, well, how can I put it? It's like a chemical reaction, right? And, well, in that chemical reaction, several people die, right? Several people, well, some die, others are injured, right? Obviously, that's also, well, it's terrible. It's terrible. Let's go then to this image. This is how the tank looks after it imploded. And that's the moment when those chemicals that caused this problem are released.
Right? Exactly. Well, the authorities indicate that the victims who were injured have burns or inhalation injuries, and that the severity of the injuries ranges from mild to critical.
Well, that's how things are, and that's how the tank ended up. Just look, pay attention to the truck that's behind the tank, just to see the size of the tank. That tells you, I mean, you realize it's huge, right? And in that implosion, well, if that chemical landed on some people, obviously it could cause them harm. Now, if you're talking about up to 9 missing people, just imagine, right? I mean, why speculate? It's better to wait until there's more information. But you can imagine, right? What could have happened? Let's move on to other important matters as well. If it could get any stranger. The case of Einstein, of Jeffrey Einstein, which is a case that at least here we don't want to forget. We have to stay alert to what's happening. But there's a journalist who has been investigating the Einstein case. And what happens to her as an investigator of the Einstein case is mind-blowing. So we can realize the level of things that are at play there. Yes. What's going on?
Well, this journalist's name is Lisa Valdez Rodriguez. She is a reporter for major outlets like the Boston Globe and the Los Angeles Times, and also the author of novels that have been quite successful. And she says that she has been investigating this ranch that Epstein owned, which is rarely talked about. People talk a lot about the island, but this ranch also hides really dark things, which, well, we're going to mention here. It's called the Sorrow Ranch, and it's hardly ever talked about. So, well, she was doing research about this, but she had to leave the United States. She left her home in New Mexico because she said she suffered what she describes as 2 attacks with directed energy weapons in her office. Does that sound familiar? We've heard this several times already, and, well, according to her posts, she says these incidents forced her to look for safe houses and to prepare her permanent departure from the United States, although she doesn't have any proof. It's hard to prove something like that, but the United States intelligence agencies, we have to remember, they've talked about the gun issue, well, the weapon that was used for Havana Syndrome, and also about one that was supposedly used when they took Maduro, which is another topic. Trump gave it a weird name, something like Bubbly or similar, but we can't recall it now. So, well, Alisa Valdez already has a career. She already has a career in traditional journalism. Many years independently investigating different topics that catch her attention. In this case, it was the Sol Ranch complex, and well, her reports were focusing on connections between the ranch and intelligence networks, surveillance activities, and what she described as a government cover-up about what was happening here.
Now, this involves weapons of this kind. Be careful with that. And besides, because if not, it doesn't count as evidence, not like the proof that today they did something to me.
It's very difficult. How do you prove it? Here it is. It describes a little bit of what happened. It says in detail that she suffered 2 attacks on the same morning in her home office. She said the second one appeared to come from a large truck parked in front of her property. She claimed that the devices could be the size of a backpack or a large machine gun placed on the roof or near it by private military contractors. In addition, she stated that their devices would allow them to generate a 3D model of the inside of the house in real time and accurately target a part of the body. She says this because of those incidents, she decides to leave the United States.
Well, there's a detail there that's obviously also hard to verify. But supposedly this type of wave is cancelled out by water. So if someone is... Well, yes, it would make sense, right? It does make sense.
It's exactly a shelter.
You go into a shelter. I mean, of course, obviously, I'm talking about a critical moment, like during an attack, for example. Getting into a bathtub could supposedly help, but it's temporary, right? While a situation like that is happening, but I do believe him, honestly.
The truth is yes. And it also sounds, it sounds very similar. Or do you remember a story we covered about a scientist who did tests with a weapon that he said was the size of a backpack and that he used it on himself? And it's exactly the same, right? They all have certain things in common. And, it wouldn't be strange if the government itself wanted to make an investigation like that disappear.
A certain area, right? You know which area I'm talking about, right? An area that's involved in those topics just doesn't want to. Obviously, they don't want it to be widely known. They don't want this to get out. The conflict with Iran, for example, pretty much determined the decision. The last straw was the Epstein case. They didn't want to talk about the case. And they said, well, bring out the UFOs. The UFOs, to a lot of people, I think the vast majority aren't interested. But honestly, they couldn't care less about that whole topic. When they land and put one right in front of me, then we'll talk. As long as it's just documents and stuff, we're not interested. So a lot of people feel that way. Honestly, it's not very interesting for most people, to the point that, well, just check how long it lasted. It must be really mind-blowing for. Because I imagine when they released this, they expect a big worldwide impact. But it's like, well, by the second day, people didn't even remember. And when the second batch of documents came out, it wasn't even news. It was just like whatever. And we see it here in the community. We made the video about the documents, which I am actually interested in. So it's like, and today it's interesting because, well, if they don't like the topic, I just put it aside, let's say. I keep researching it anyway, but I did realize that the topic doesn't interest them. The topic here for the community itself, right? I know there's a group that is interested, a good part of them. They just don't care, right? That topic is super interesting. And that should also be very concerning for the United States. And well, specifically for Trump, because if that was supposed to be a distraction, well, the distraction only worked for about a day and a half, right? In any case, those of us who are interested will keep analyzing and investigating it. But this issue with the lady is there. Well, yes, I think it should be investigated more thoroughly. Now, I don't know by whom, because who else would investigate it besides her, right? And the fact that she reported it also seems right to me, because I'm sure others will start to come forward too, right? I'm certain other investigators will come forward. It's that headache or that terrible situation I went through that made me distance myself from the subject. Well, now I know why it happened, right? There are people who maybe didn't make the connection with the subject, right? But then this complaint, I'm sure it's going to generate more similar complaints that, yes, this is really happening. And it's also dangerous that it's being used to censor certain topics, right? That's really serious.
The land of freedom.
But it can happen anywhere, right? It's not really about the country. It's about the fact that there's a weapon or there are weapons that will get out of control, you know? That's how it is. Not weaving wounds or not weaving things that weave evidence.
Weave wounds, not weaving. Weave wounds. You can't go weave evidence.
They did this to me, but where's the proof? No photo, nothing, just envy.
If they already did it, he's just crazy, right? That's all they'd say. Poor guy, he's crazy. It's Steve, the only one who'd go through that. So, yeah, it's tough. It's like when that protest happened in Serbia, they used the sonic weapon, not just because it's visible. I mean, it's visible.
It's how people behave. And you say this isn't planned.
It's not exactly. I mean, it's not exactly. People are clearly behaving as if there was a wave, not like you're just blowing air at them, so to speak. I mean, knowing it's like a wave of behavior, but without control over people's bodies. I mean, those images were really crazy. Those images that were out there. So, but it were just 2 or 3 people. You would just see 2 or 3 people suddenly fall, and that's it. But you wouldn't see this. The real effect of the wave they were emitting. In the case where there were so many people protesting, you could see how it was going, how it was moving.
Something invisible pushing them.
Exactly. It was like something invisible pushing, right? This wow.
Totally, yeah.
Yes, but and we need to keep following this woman. No, this journalist. Journalist, clearly of Latin origin because of the last name, right? Yes. Well then,
Her name is, let me remind you of her name so you can follow her. She has what they call, it's a new social network. It's called Substracts. It's where many journalists post their articles. So like let's say like a YouTube, but for journalists, just for reporters, right? Or rather.
yeah, journalist.
Yes, journalists. Yes. Alisa Valdez Rodriguez.
Alisa Valdez Rodriguez. So you remember her. Also, well, another topic, right? Another matter. Just quickly. Let's move on to another point. Because I still have this image to show you that I just remembered. And I want to show you, not that one, this one right here. There it is. Just look at that. Just take a look. This image it's like Chinese planes or military planes have been approaching the island of Taiwan. The Minister of Defense of Taiwan published these photos of the air and naval forces monitoring a combat readiness patrol by China around the island. This tendency that Taiwan has to spread images of China, as if saying, I'm watching you. I mean, they didn't used to do that before. Now, what Taiwan does is every time they cross the line, they take a photo or put up another radar image about the situation, and they show them to tell the Chinese, to send them the message. I'm watching. It's a huge issue, and it's causing a lot of reactions around the world. Let's see. Cuba now says that it won't anymore. That would be the first big change, which would follow the pressure from the United States. It's always been one party, right? They can say what they want, but that's clearly not democracy. Well, it really caught my attention. I can understand that there are people who defend left-wing or right-wing beliefs. I can understand that perfectly. I can't understand people who defend dictatorships, whether right-wing or left-wing. I just don't get it. Another thing I can't understand is how there are people who defend something like that, right? And even less that they have any reason to do so. A country in ruins, right? So, I mean, it's even more inexplicable, right? But what would be a real change would be if there was, well, a change that might look cosmetic at first, but would have to take shape and prove it's real. If not, obviously people are going to say this is fake, right? Period. That's it. But anyway, what's going on? Well,
Who is doing it? This is being proposed on the opposition platform called the Council for Cuba's Democratic Transition, which yesterday launched a campaign to carry out a constitutional reform, which would be a very peaceful way to change the government, without a coup, without an attack from the United States. So like they'd leave gradually. And also some people will probably stay, some of the young people, right, in this new government. And the idea is to put an end to this civic and political monopoly that the Communist Party of Cuba has. This movement is trying to make this change, to shift Cuba's government a bit in order to, as they say, shift the focus and have more social representation. Because right now there is only that party and it's the only one that's represented.
So then this means
They want to make a change to Article 5, where to make this change, there would no longer be just a single party, but instead there could be different parties on the island.
it would be an impressive change. There are also tremendous things happening in Bolivia. Yes.
Exactly, in Bolivia. Right now, Congress has just given the green light to President Rodrigo Paz to declare a state of emergency. This is because of the protests. Okay? We have to remember that it's already been about a week, 2 weeks of constant protests in Bolivia. This is good. Partly it's because of Evo Morales, the former president of Bolivia. But there are also quite a few people, many people from certain unions and groups who are upset with this state of emergency that the Bolivian Congress has just given the green light to the president. He could use the military and restrict some freedoms in order to curb these protests that are happening.
There's also the situation in Bolivia, which is extremely important. Friends from Bolivia, please leave your comments. How do you see this situation? Hopefully you can also comment about Cuba as well. And well, there are also other matters over in India. Where is the issue?
In India, right now in India, there's a woman who has been put in quarantine due to suspected Ebola infection. This woman went to Uganda to a technology center, and unfortunately, they suspect she might be carrying this disease. The news was given today by the Minister of Health. His name is Javad Prakasha Nadak, who said that India had not reported any cases of the disease to the WHO yet, but they are keeping her under observation. She is a citizen, she is Ugandan, and she's 28 years old. She works at this technology center in Bengaluru, there in India, and she is 28 years old and had mild body aches, but otherwise she is healthy. Therefore, she will be under observation. They're going to take samples to rule out Ebola, right?
Well, of course. Just imagine the problem it would be for India.
The number of people who...
Why? And being the most populated country in the world, right? Why would you want that? It would be tremendous. The Indians really have to step up there. The Indians, right? Because if not, well, no, I don't even want to think about it. That goes against the idea because it would really be amazing. So let's move on to other important topics. Okay, is already out. And well, in Spain, yeah. So what? Polymarket and Calcio or whatever it's called in Spain. What happened with that?
Well, they took them out. They can't operate there in Spain anymore because they don't have a gaming license, which they should have. Because in the end, they're not really bets. Of course, so the Ministry of Consumer Affairs opened this case to sanction those platforms for not having the license. And well, I think it's a move that should be made at an international level because what's happening with Polymarket is really intense. It honestly feels like an episode of Black Mirror when you see what people do just to make some money, right? These threats to reporters, these things that you think, well, they don't make any sense, but, well, they generate a lot of money.
Yeah. It's crazy right now. Big greetings to Juan Rojas. I don't know if you're watching, but he wrote to us on Telegram. Big greetings and many thanks to those who are on Telegram. Just so you know, we're always there checking in, and if you send us a message or something, we see it right away. Many thanks to those of you tuned in over there. There's an image, this one. Look, this is an image that the Iranians are sharing because today the idea was going around that they had been firing, stopping, or at least trying to shoot at an F-35. The aerospace defense systems of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard detected this US F-35 and are showing this image, supposedly in which they launched defensive missiles, forcing the aircraft to withdraw. No, it didn't do anything to it. But let's say it detected the aircraft. missiles were coming, and so it had to leave the area. And supposedly they destroyed a drone. In fact, they showed images of the drone on the ground already destroyed. So, well, what I'm getting at is that images are being shown, but the United States hasn't reacted to this yet.
No, they're staying quiet because they don't want anything to go wrong for them there. All that stuff they have, right? Today, a member of the Revolutionary Guard came out saying that the United States was begging them to sit down and make a deal. So,
Well, that's the same thing Trump says.
yes, he says the same thing. I checked the article, and Trump says the same. Like father, like son. Saga.
It's tough. It's really like that. At least this one is so precious. Well, that's how it is, right? Well, let's move on to other important matters as well. Just a note here, because Segundo Garcia is telling me they're not Indians, they're Hindus, not Indians. Yes, the correct thing is to call them Indians. They're only Hindus if they practice Hinduism, right? It's like saying Christian, right? He's a Christian, he's a Hindu. That's correct there because you're talking about their religion. But if you're going to refer to Indians, that's how it is. Indians, right? He's an Indian, right? It sounds weird. It sounds weird.
Especially for Latin Americans, because we're used to thinking of Indians, at least before, as native peoples, right? But it's an incorrect term the Spaniards gave them because they believed that they'd reached the Indies.
Exactly. Back then, the correct use of Indian is for people from India. That's where the Indian is, over there, right? It's the Indian, and it's correct to call them Indian or Indians, right? And Hindus or Hindu is when someone practices a religion. So when you make those references, like saying this is a Muslim, right? I mean, it's someone who practices Islam, right? I mean, it's a Christian, it's a Buddhist, or it's an Indian, a Hindu. Sorry, just to clarify that point, right? I make that mistake a lot. I sometimes say it without thinking, and you correct me right away. It's not that I don't know.
It's a habit.
It's just a habit. Sometimes it slips out, and you remind me, it's better to say indigenous. And you're right. Well, there it is, right? It says Indians are those who live in India. Hindus are those who practice Hinduism. Exactly. Arce summed up the explanation in 3 words. Awesome. Thank you, Francisco.
Greetings to Christy. Hi, everyone. I didn't see the notification today, but I managed to make it, well, at least to the comments, and then you can go back and watch everything that happened, Christy.
Hey, greetings. Christy, how have you been, Tapatia, to those who are here from the World Cup cities, right? What do you think? We're almost there. It's about to start. Oh, isn't it good? I don't know. I imagine so.
He always gives only half, even when he shouldn't.
No. But that's something I'd never seen before. I mean, even the weather, right?
Well, yes, the weather is quite fitting.
Honestly, sometimes I think it's strange because how can I have never seen weather like this? It's not just for one day. The weather is really nice now. You say, well, I mean, who? The aliens are out there regulating the weather? Or what's his name? Tlaloc. No, Tlaloc they want soccer. He wants soccer. But anyway, they're really busy. Painting, cutting down little trees. I don't know what else. That's how I am. Well, let me tell you, look, I mean, if you can see, if it's possible to kind of leave it like that, more or less. Well, greetings. He says it doesn't feel like a new World Cup is coming. There's no excitement, says Chrissy Kranz. Yeah. No, I don't know. Maybe it's just my perception, but I feel exactly the same way about what you're saying. It's like, unless you live nearby or in a city where, well, maybe it's a bit different, but not even here, right?
I'm not saying they don't try. Like the mayors, the governor. But it's not like there's a lot of excitement either.
No, you don't really see it that much.
They say, no, Maru says she likes soccer, but she wouldn't pay that much to see teams she's interested in. She says she'd rather watch the World Cup on TV, says Marvin. Greetings, Marvin. There you go.
Hey, Marvin, they're 2 little dogs. Marvin is don't tell me, a German Shepherd and a Chihuahua.
Can't see anything.
Not here.
If you live here, no, you can't see it here. No, but
That's nice. Greetings to Leonardo. You always hear reports saying China had extreme ultraviolet lithography machines, functional prototypes, so that by 2030 it would catch up with the West and reach 1.4 nanometers for microchips. I don't know if it's about this case, but when you hear something, let's see if they don't kill the story for us. And there's news where China said they had extreme ultraviolet lithography machines, functional prototypes for 2030. It would catch up with the West with 1.4 nanometer microchips.
Yes. They're working on that. Yes, they're working on that. They're working on that, but they're working on it. But as far as I know, it hasn't been approved or tested.
Yes, by 2030.
By 2030. Yes, me.
See you in 2030.
We'll see. But yeah, I have no doubt at all that they're doing everything they can for that. Shout out to Leonardo. Very good.
Francisco Arce says here in Mexico City, only axolotls. And because that's already decorated, right? Yes. Robin Platy says, for those of us who live near Guadalupe, where is the World Cup going to be? How exciting. Look, they're going to go. Just imagine. They're already into the World Cup. But I don't feel anything happening.
Look, we have the stadium. So if I get on the roof, I can see it. That's how close we are. Really, really close. If someone is passing by here, just shout at us over there, and I'll come out to say hi to you. No, we live really close to the stadium. Every day, there's no way not to see it. The stadium. If I go out, if I leave the house, I'm going to see the stadium. There's no other way. So we live very close, actually. When there are games and stuff, people park around the house, basically. So, yeah. We get to see everything, and we're going to be really close. But no. How? I mean, I would have to.
You'll need to walk since the streets will be closed for 4 hours.
Wow. I mean, we won't be able to go out, apparently. Or if we do go out, we won't be able to come back.
But it's Pablo Loliva. I haven't seen him.
It's the other one. It's close to us anyway, so we could go there. I mean, walking?
Yeah. No.
I mean, to go out to the city? It's Monterrey?
They say how it'll be.
Yes.
I'll check for you later.
No, what I really want.
I would like your garage, Pepe. Yes.
I know. Well, yes, it could be. This whole area is private. I mean, it's a private neighborhood. So, the guards already know that when there is cuando hay partido, a game, they close up. I mean, they get stricter. So around the neighborhood, it gets filled with cars. Before the neighborhood, I mean, people used to come in, right? They'd get in by saying things like, he's my friend. They would fill up and overcrowd the neighborhood. So if you have free space in your garage, you can let in anyone you want, right? I mean, for example, if a friend or a family member comes over, you can just tell them, hey, stay here, and let them leave their car here. Actually, my brother has left his car here when he goes to the Rayados game. It happened at least once. But what we do want to do, what I want to do, because I haven't asked anyone else, but what I would really like to do is when the World Cup is here, during the actual World Cup, at least get close to the stadium. I mean, at least because there will be screens and I don't know what else. I don't know how close you can actually get, but I guess you can walk around there. And I mean, if it's possible, I'm going to head over there just to see what's up, at least to see up close how things will be. And then I'll tell you all about it. And well, if it's possible to stream, I'll stream because all the internet lines there will probably be really overloaded. Or I'll record, right? I'll record. And then I'll post it. But it's going to be really interesting.
Like in India subways where you can't use your cell phone because it's so enclosed.
it's already totally overloaded.
Greetings to Marilena, who's here as always, excited when the first match starts. Marilena says hi. Cheers, Marilena.
Hi, Marilena. How are you? Hello there.
And Robin says they're not going to let you into your neighborhood.
Maybe, right?
No. Yes, they let us in. They do let us in. They're the ones who live almost across the street. For them, it's going to be a hassle. They're going to get a...
The ones who live on this side, almost across from the state.
Yes, they're going to give them like a badge to hang in their car so they can get through. Now, the problem is, for example, people who don't have a car, how will they manage? Public transportation doesn't get them close and they'll still need to walk. At least there aren't many games, right?
But yes, it's like 3 games or 2 games. I don't know how many there are. So it's not going to be a huge hassle either. And I mean, I suppose most people will be at home. I think they're going to suspend work and everything. All of it.
Because the traffic is going to be really bad. Rosalinda says something here. I don't know if it's for us.
There's going to be barbecue everywhere.
He's making a World Cup report. Tapatia says what he'll do. I met him since my dad, a bullfighting fan, introduced us. I didn't like the parties he hosted or the people he invited. I know him in person, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes. My mom was a teacher of his children. They were very handsome, especially the sons.
Yes, like the bullfighter always was.
Bullfighters aren't ugly. They're always kind of good looking.
Like they always tried, right?
Yeah, they were really cool, those guys. That's very Monterrey. That's very typical of people from Monterrey, being really easygoing. That's what I think
Yeah, they're kind of really easygoing.
Yeah, no, really easygoing.
people not from certain areas are very easygoing.
Certain areas. He says they won't let you in after a few days. You read it. Leonardo, how have you been? Yes, I have thought about like maybe preparing myself a few days before. Yeah, just to make sure nothing is missing so you don't have to go out. Like, oh,
The games are on the weekend, right? So you get ready on Friday?
I don't think so. No, things just happen one after another. So it's whenever it happens. Who knows, right? How it's going to be. But yeah, the trend is like, yeah, right, like Thursday. I mean, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Sunday. Yeah, I guess so.
All right, we'll see. If you have a camera drone, you can fly it from your rooftop and send images of all the hotels.
You know, that's not bad. It's not a bad idea. From here, from the roof, it'd easily make it. It'd easily make it. Someone who wants to lend me their DJI, right? Or maybe we all chip in here at the World Cup. We buy a DJI, the small one. I don't know.
No, I don't remember.
No, yes.
Yes. It's very simple.
Okay.
Pepe says it's yes. Omar, well, no. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. Yes, if I manage to.
If we don't hold the match, FIFA will take it from us.
No, if not, it can't be done. No, but at least to see the stadium from the outside, I guess, yes. It should be possible, right? There will be areas, I imagine there will be jamming too, right? Most likely.
See, that's it.
And Marta says, how have you been? Good evening. Thank you very much, Marta. Greetings, Rosalinda.
Please, if I were nearby, I'd gladly lend you my drone. Thank you. Greetings to Marta Torres and good night to you both. Thank you, Marta. Same to you.
Greetings, the game.
Also, greetings to Julian Campos Pascual. He says, in Spain, we are waiting for Zapatero's fall to bring down this government of communists and separatists. That is, every day they uncover more dirty things about them.
More dirt. They find more women, of course.
Today is Nick Cave's birthday, 62. Wow, honestly, I don't know what that man does. Maybe he freezes himself at night. It's impressive, but also look at him, how much?
60? What? 62. Imagine turning 62 and thinking you're free. No,
The truth is,
that's a good challenge.
I'm not sure, but the other day I saw what he was eating and just thought, I don't know.
Vita.
I'm not sure I want to live just eating greens.
this one, yes. It's just that this one is separate.
He's very strict. He hides. Yes. Greetings to Robbie. I'm comfortable here at the bakery eating menudo, listening to you all, and my phone is about to die. Phew! Today, at the end of the broadcast, if my phone dies, which Palax are you guys at?
I went to the Palax about 2 months ago, but not the classic one, because that's the one we always used to go to.
Well, we've been to 3, right? The one in Colón, the one in San Jerónimo, and this new one.
The one on Luis Pardo, Obispado, Luis Obispado, and Madero.
The one on Madero.
No, exactly. I mean, the one on Madero, the one in Obispado, we've been alone. We've been there a bunch of times, but no, I didn't go. You didn't either, right? No.
I haven't come. It's going to burn me.
Yes. No.
Take me.
Over there. This and a friend visiting and stop looking for him at the Palax. At the Palax, I haven't been. It's the one over there by the tech, and it's really cool. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I didn't mess up. The food is really good.
What did you do? What? Lucky at the one in Garza Sada.
There it is. That was the last one I attended.
Yes. The one at Urban Village is called Greetings to Vic. It said that FoamFest is expected to be super packed with guest bands like Imagine Dragons. Yes, it's going to be really crowded. It says they're getting involved in Poland. They're using drones to locate abused or neglected dogs, and then they go and take them. It says,
Does the drone take them away, or how does it work?
well, the Palax are always open, 24 hours a day.
Right? I had no doubt about that. I didn't know about the Palax. He also says, look, for the friends who are listening to us and maybe don't know, if you ever visit Monterrey, the Palax is open 24 hours, just like the Al, which is also very interesting. By the way, it's open 24 hours. In fact, the Al hadn't closed for about 50 years.
Imagine, not even a single day.
Not even for a day, not even during the pandemic or similar times. They never closed this place. Only a few years ago. Remember, they changed all the gas pipes because they'd been there since.
Imagine my mom back in the 40s or 50s. She would go there when she was going to the United States. Yes, they would stop there on the way.
Imagine. And you see a lot of stories there. I mean, not just if you're a writer. Well, you just have to sit there and go for a whole week like that. And you'll see all kinds of stories. I mean, it's really nice. It's really interesting because you see all kinds of things. There you can run into anyone from a drunk who's been out all night to a governor. Oh, it could be a politician. You can run into anyone like that, right? So it's really interesting. Those places are always like that. And for those who know, or I mean, for those who like more authentic tourism, no, I think they'll always go there because, well, there's also typical local food and you see a lot of real local characters here, right? I mean, for example, sometimes you end up at a wedding after party. Yeah, they go there. I mean, a lot of people who are at their wedding and everything's over, they're still a bit drunk, not completely wasted, and say, let's go get menudo. So they go for menudo, maybe to Palax or somewhere similar. They keep going there, basically for an after-wedding party.
Here's one from Chile. It says, here in Chile, during the administration before Boric, $9.5 billion went missing. It doesn't just happen in Spain, says Italo. Greetings to Antonio Matal, who says greetings from Guasahayashi in Texas, and also says Chris Christie. I found out because since I don't really like flying either, I once came across that story about Lenny, and he's out there eating tacos on the road, or I can accept him eating tacos.
I didn't tell you a story about him eating tacos. That's crazy. I mean, so right away, so he eats like that from time to time, you know? No, he does eat things.
He says, yes, it's really tasty for those who come to Monterrey. It's open 24 hours. It's great. Robbie, yes. Even the coffee at Palax is delicious. Yes.
Yes, honestly.
Let's make him go do some promotion. I'm going to call him to talk about Palax.
Sponsor us.
The best thing about Palax is the mole. It's just that, well, they really don't hold back. I mean, they give you almost the whole chicken like that. And the other thing is the salad, the one that comes with grilled meat, right?
The one shaped like a bowl with...
beans and shredded pork salad topped with these crunchy tortillas. Oh no, I love it.
I love them, and like that, they add beans and avocado with small pieces of beans included.
Well, there's a bunch of stuff in there.
There it is, the full comment. Sorry, Christy, it says, as a fun fact, Kravitz is afraid of flying. He avoids it as much as he can. When he had a concert in Mexico, they drove him there in a van. And he goes through little towns. And it says, and I found out because I don't really like flying either. And once I came across a story about Lenny and he was stopping for tacos on the road.
Look.
Okay, now I get you.
Yeah. No, well, that's cool. I mean, no, you can tell that.
It's complicated because you have to travel a lot in that career.
Imagine not being able to fly.
He probably doesn't fly much now, but he has to fly. There's no other way. And this one, and if you've seen it, there's a kind of documentary about his house in Brazil. It's amazing. I mean...
it's beautiful. It's really like paradise. It's beautiful. The only thing I don't like is what he eats, but honestly, his house is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool.
It really cracks me up that their daughter, Kravitz, says that she thinks her dad doesn't know any shirts that aren't see-through because he always wears them. I mean, as far as I know, he's always worn see-through shirts. And honestly, if you have abs like that, well, why wouldn't you?
Me too. Honestly, if I ever manage to get abs like that, I'm going to show off my exhibitionist side and I'm going to walk around like that.
Did anyone ever get sent like that with the fishnet shirt?
Shirt? No, not like that. I don't have one. I have my own style. But I mean, what did they say to you? Close. Well, without a shirt, with a shirt, and with a jacket without a shirt, I mean, like casually, oh no, let me grab this, right? And then he lifts up his shirt, right? Like that. And instead of a belly, you see abs, right? No, save the video. Save the video.
When I went to play in Korea, the Koreans came out in a swarm. I hope they give discounts at the keel. Hey, yeah, right? Koreans are everywhere here. The other day, we went to a Korean cafe over in Obispado. And I noticed that it's like all the Koreans agreed to go to that cafe. There were a ton of them.
Yeah, we were the tourists there for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of Koreans who brought their Mexican girlfriends or Mexican friends. So you realize how they also stick with their own people.
Right? Yeah, it's just that we arrived late. I mean, since it's a cafe and they make their own bread, if you get there late, there's nothing left. Basically,
He says that if Pepe Kravitz was there, it would be cool. Awesome on the news like a total rock star. And now with black makeup, fishnet shirt.
The fishnet shirt. Maybe not. But still, yeah. Maybe with a jacket, but without a shirt.
Well, I mean, more than that
Looks like it does in the little square.
with your hair, dude.
Well, more beard, right?
More beard, some braids.
Doesn't come out here. It comes out here, right?
Well, then some braids like this with little Viking style metal pieces.
I would actually do the braid thing. It's just having the patience to endure it. Because there's a point
Where the beard gets frustrated.
there's a point with the beard where it's just like this. I mean, sticking out in every direction.
If you fill it in with little patches as a disguise, I'd rather just buy you one.
Doesn't it have any hope?
Be faster, cool. Well, it's true. It does take time, but still.
Um,
The good thing is that he's not jealous. How do you know?
no, that's not true. But I want to have abs someday to see if you get jealous. Let's see. Yeah. If you let me show my exhibitionist side.
Well, go ahead. Let's see what happens.
Tell him it has to be abs, right? You talk.
Go ahead. You talk.
He says, thank you very much too. How have you been, says Ibarra? Thank you so much. By the way, to the members of the channel, thank you very much for supporting us in that way as well. So consistently, honestly, we really appreciate it. Well, all that support is extremely important for the channel. You should know that, well, that extra really matters. For us, it's extremely important. Greetings to Jalala and Awesome Robbie.
Greetings, Isa.
Hey, love, let's go.
Remember, we're on WhatsApp and Telegram, where we send live stream notifications. Make sure to turn on the notification bell there. If not, you won't hear it, but we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and X.
Great. So, Pepe, what did you say? Great. Take care. See you tomorrow.
We interrupt your regular programming. Thank you for tuning into The Truth. This is
Pepe, live. The truth is intense. The unbelievable is real.
We analyze it here. Global focus. Don't miss out. Tune into the PP and Vivo channel. Pepe and Astrid taking over the airwaves and telling it like it is. Raw journalism. Respect matters here. Turn on notifications and stay tuned until next time. Yes, sir. Roll call. Subscribe.